Let's continue with question 11. So this question is asking what statement best describe the condition required for a reaction to occur. So in these particular questions, we need to find the best statement. So the answer would be C, which is the collision with correct orientation and particles have energy equal to the activation energy. So if we learned the theory before, it shows that for a reaction to occur, the reactant is over here, is required to achieve the activation energy or overcome the activation energy so that a reaction would occur and produce the respective product. So for A, the statement is correct, but it can be some more specific. For statement B, collisions with correct orientations with higher activation energy or equal to the activation energy. It is not necessary that it must be higher, but it also can be equal as long as you achieve it. Okay, so D is not relevant, so the answer will be C. Okay, question 12. A student adds the sodium chloride solution into a beaker containing a nitrate salt solution and a white precipitate. So this white precipitate is the observation form. So what are the free moving ions present when the reaction is completed? So free moving ion means it is soluble in the water, therefore it ionizes to produce ions. So actually this is a double decomposition reaction. So what is a double decomposition reaction? It is actually the process that produces the insoluble salts. So at first you will notice that this is a sodium chloride solution which is soluble, and then we know that nitrate salt solution is always soluble no matter what is the cation. So you will notice that actually it is the process of two soluble salt solutions that will produce a insoluble salt and a soluble solution. So if we're using the diagram to illustrate this purpose, it will become like this, where the product is like this, a beaker, and then you will observe the white precipitate according to the question. So this white precipitate is actually insoluble, so it is the insoluble salt. Meanwhile, the solution, aqueous solution that is soluble, I draw it as the dotted line. This is the soluble in water. So we are going to find the respective soluble salt, which is the free moving ions. Okay, so according to the options given, we have nitrate, sodium, lead, and chloride. So let's say we choose this nitrate salt to have the cation, which is lead. So we write the equation. So sodium chloride plus PbNO3 which is the nitrate salt, and then it will produce the sodium nitrate with lead chloride, lead 2 chloride. So it will match our condition, which is this is soluble, sodium chloride is soluble, and then nitrate salt is always soluble, produce the soluble salt with the insoluble salt. So this one match our observation and match our inference also. So we know that this is our answer because we want to find free moving ion, meaning that we need to find the soluble salt. So the answer would be 1 and 2, sodium and nitrate. And why not chloride is because chloride has been already turned into the lead 2 chloride, which is the insoluble salt, meaning that even though you put it in the beaker and then you add water and then you stir very vigorously or what, it will not dissolve also. Okay, question 13. Which of the following can be used to make a glass pot for cooking? This is the answer would be borosilicate glass. And then soda lime glass is the most common glass we found. And then lead cluster glass is usually for decoration or for some specific purposes. This one you can refer to the textbook. Yeah, the table. Okay, so question 14. Question 14 is given us the equation that showing the reaction between zinc powder and 100 cm³ of 1.0 mol per dm³ nitric acid. So question is asking how are we going to increase the rate of production of hydrogen gas? So here is the hydrogen gas. So this is product. So it asks you to increase the production of hydrogen gas, meaning that the rate of reaction must be increased also. So since zinc powder is used already, so the rate of reaction, we cannot do anything on the zinc powder, because unless it is like it give you the zinc plate, and then when we use the zinc powder, the rate of reaction will increase. Because powder has the largest total surface area exposed to the nitric acid, so the rate of reaction will be higher. So let's see the option one by one. So for A, if we add the distilled water, it will not help the increase of the rate of reaction, because when you add the distilled water, it will dilute the HCl. So the reaction will become slower, the rate of reaction will decrease. Increasing the mass of the zinc powder will not increase this, it will not increase the production of hydrogen gas, because the ratio for zinc to hydrogen gas is 1.1. So no matter if you put here 500, here also get what? 500. It will not become like suddenly you give 500 and then you get 1000 at hydrogen gas. So see, increase the volume of the nitric acid, also not relevant to the factors that affect the rate of reaction. So factors that affecting the rate of reaction, we have temperature, we have total surface area, we have the kinetic energy, which is related to the temperature, and then also the concentration also, and lastly is the pressure. Pressure is only the factor that will affect the reaction that involving gases. So we have only left the last option, which is the replace the nitric acid with sulfuric acid. So for your information, sulfuric acid is stronger than the nitric acid because it can produce 2 moles of hydrogen ion per 1 mole of acid. Meanwhile, for nitric acid, it only produces 1 mole of the hydrogen ion per 1 mole of acid. So definitely this one for the sulfuric acid is higher. So it is a stronger acid, so the rate of reaction will be higher. So the answer would be D. Question 15. Ceramic, glass, alloy, and composite materials are manufactured substances in industry. Which statement is correct about these substances? So the answer is A, which is a ceramic is made of inorganic and non-metallic substances. So the reason why option B is wrong is because an alloy is a mixture of 2 or more metal substances. Alloy is the combination of many metal substances in a fixed composition. So in this question, it is non-metal, so this statement is wrong. C. A composite material is a substance which has low melting point. This is wrong because it's not relevant to the question. D. The main component of glass is silica, which is SiO2. It's not alumina. Alumina is actually aluminium. So glass definitely not made up of aluminium. Yeah. So question 13. Diagram 4 shows the apparatus set up to determine the rate of reaction through the changes in mass. So it already tells you that they measure the mass of this magnesium ribbon to determine whether the reaction is complete or not. So look at the question. What is the measurable change to determine the rate of reaction other than change in mass? So you cannot measure the mass of the magnesium already. So let's see the question one by one. A. Decrease in volume of hydrochloric acid. This is not the answer, not relevant. Decrease in the pH value of the solution, meaning that it changes if you decrease the pH value of the solution. Okay. This is actually the factor, right? Factor affecting the rate of reaction. So this is not the measurable change. Decrease in the temperature. This is also not really can be calculated one. This is also factor affecting the rate of reaction. So the answer will be D, which is increase in the volume of hydrogen gas. The reason why is because here, the equation I write. Magnesium plus the hydrochloric acid produce magnesium chloride, magnesium chloride and hydrogen gas. So this is actually a gas. So you can measure the volume of the gas, can be measured to determine the rate of reaction. For example, you get 0 at first, and then you get 10, 20, 30, and then 40. Until certain extent, it will maintain 40, 40. This is just for the illustration purpose only. So it means that the reaction has been completed because the reading remains constant. So D will be the answer. We cannot measure the temperature because it doesn't release any energy or absorb any energy, heat energy also. Okay, question 17. Ozone O3 is a gas consists of 3 oxygen atoms. What is the oxidation number of oxygen in ozone molecule? So like this kind of question, you need to find the oxidation of oxygen. So ozone has 3 O, so we want to find oxygen. So the symbol is O. So let this O become X, which is unknown, that we are going to identify the value. So we will write 3x equals to 0. Why 0? Because look at this O3. It doesn't have any charge or positive charge or negative charge. So meaning that the oxidation number is 0. So 3x equals to 0, do some mathematics. So x will be 0. So the answer would be D. Question 18. Diagram 5 shows the water treatment process. What is Q process? The answer is electrocoagulation. This one requires you to read and memorize a bit how is the water treatment process be like. So let's continue with question 19. So this is a chemical equation that represents redox reactions. Element X is located in group 17 in the periodic table of elements. What is the expected observation when element X is replaced by iodine? So from this equation we can know that this X2 plus 2KBr will form 2Kx plus Br2. So it means that this X element must be something that is able to displace the bromine. So that like displace is something like you keep out something. So the element must be strong. So from the periodic table of elements, the first one is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and then iodine. So something that can be displaced out the bromine will be fluorine or chlorine. It must be some elements that is higher than the position of the bromine so that it can displace it. So we can deduce that this might be chlorine or fluorine. So let's say, so we already know that in this periodic table, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. So from this chart, iodine is actually lower than bromine. So it means that it cannot displace the bromine. So the answer would be B. Brown solution remains because it cannot replace the bromine. So it will remain. Okay, question 20. Which of the following properties is true about hydrogen sulfide? So the chemical formula for hydrogen sulfide is H2S, where it is actually a covalent compound. So for covalent compound, the boiling point will be lower than the ionic compound. So for the solubility, it will only soluble in the methylbenzene, which is the organic solvent. So since it is covalent compound, so inside is the molecules with no charge. So since it has no charge, so it cannot conduct the electricity. Question 21. Which of the following compound is a saturated hydrocarbon? So you need to know that saturated hydrocarbon is only referring to alkane only. And the general formula for alkane will be CnH2n plus 2, where from these options we can substitute 3 into this formula, where we will get C3H2 3 bracket 3 plus 2, which is C3H8. So this is a saturated hydrocarbon. So this CnHn is actually maybe an alkyne, where it has the triple bond. And then D is C4H8, which is butene. So it is a alkene, and alkene has the double bond as its functional group. Question 22, okay. Vinegar contains the mixture of water and ethanoic acid. What is the molarity of vinegar with a concentration of 40 grams per dm3, given that the molar mass of ethanoic acid will be CH3COOH equals to 60 grams per mole? So when we want to calculate for molarity, we need to know that the formula for calculating molarity is number of mole divided by volume. So we can know that for molarity, if you want to get the unit for molarity will be mole per n gram. So given this is the concentration and the molar mass, we can calculate the molarity, because you can observe for the unit. The unit here for molar mass will be gram per mole, and then here is gram per dm cube. So we can actually cancel this gram, and then we will get mole and dm cube. So isn't that these two units is actually the unit for the molarity, which is mole and dm cube? Then we do some kind of calculations where we put this concentration first, and then we inverse the molar mass to become 1 mole per 60 gram. Then this same unit we can cancel out, and then we get this answer, which is A, 40/60 mole per dm cube. Okay, question 23. Diagram 6 shows an apparatus set up for a chemical equation. So this is a butene, which is a alkene. And then we know that this is a acidified potassium manganate. It is a oxidizing agent. So oxidizing agent catalyze oxidation. So when alkene undergo oxidation, will form alcohol. So what is the product of this reaction? It will form butane 2,3-diol. Because this acidified potassium manganate is actually a strong oxidizing agent. So it will catalyze the leakage for the double bond, and then add the OH inside it. So when we want to name for the product, it will be butane 2,3-diol. This is because this is C1, C2, C3, C4. There are 2 hydroxyl group that is located at carbon number 2 and carbon number 3. Okay, question 24. This is an energy level diagram that represents the reactions between Q and R. Energy. So E1, E2, E3. We have E1, E2, E3. So let us name for these, label some of the information that we might need in this energy level diagram. So QR is the reactants. Reactants are always in front of this front line is actually always the reactants, and the backwards line is always the product. What is the value for the activation energy? So we know that activation energy is the energy that needed to overcome, is the energy needed to catalyze a reaction. So the energy needed by the reactants will be E2, which is this line, and then going upwards until it reaches this peak to form to overcome the activation energy, and the energy level will start to drop rapidly to form the product. So when we want to calculate the activation energy, it will be E1 minus E2 kilojoule. So you need to remember that activation energy is the energy needed by the reactants to catalyze an equation, to overcome the peak over here. So always from the reactant line going to the upper position, and this will be the activation energy.